Hangout podcast where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condor with a K. I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Luke. We're missing Ben today.
He's, I was going to say where he is, but I don't think we could say where he is. It's got naughty words.
You can. Yeah.
He's not here anyway. He's doing very important stuff.
Yeah.
For the good of
yeah.
the land.
We'll clarify that he's busy at work. He's not, in mortal danger or cancelled or anything like that. He's fine. He'll be back.
Not cancelled yet. We miss you, Ben. Hope you're not stressed. Hope you're very relaxed in whatever you're doing.
You're working too hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are. Have you? We were going to say let's do some horror news, but we had a quick look, and there really isn't much horror news at all at the minute, right?
Yeah, the horror articles are flooded with just it's Halloween week, everyone. Here's the top 10 horror things you should be watching right now, which I'll give them publicity. We're here to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, shall we talk about the big thing that we have been working on behind the scenes on the other? I said it's the other podcast that I work on, but it's one of, about 4 or 5 dozen that you work on?
Not at the minute. I've only got a couple at the minute. But yeah, let's talk about. We don't have any news from anywhere else. No one else is doing anything at the minute across the world. But
nothing worth paying attention to.
Exactly. Yeah. But this week we're doing something special. Andy has directed a special podcast series of horror stories called The Witching Hour.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so it's exciting. I know we don't do much crossing the streams here, but on the Other Stories podcast that you've been running for a number of years, Luke, you and the rest of the team have been kind enough the last couple of years to kind of give me the reins of Halloween. And this year we wanted to do something. We always pitch for ideas that we're going to do, and this year I decided to, make everyone's lives difficult again by choosing something which is several episodes that are going to run over the course of this week. So the first episode came out today at time of recording, 2 days ago by the time this comes out, but we're going to be running through the entire week right up to Halloween itself with an episode of The Witching Hour, which is an audio drama horror story that covers one particular hour of time from the perspective of different characters that are attending this ritual. So once every 10 years, there is a ritual where people can gather around, they can make a wish, and they can, get whatever their hearts desire. But what they're going to lose from that is yet to be seen. So before the story begins, there will have been a ceremony that a number of people who are gathered there today were also involved with, and you kind of get drips of that as we go through. But mostly it's the events of the 1 hour that follows the start of the story. And your characters will spread and go across different areas, and they will meet each other on occasion. They will cross over and interact with each other. And by listening to all of the episodes through the course of the week, you'll get the entire picture. And just to make our lives difficult in the editing, what we did was we worked with a number of writers. It's not written entirely by me. It was an entire team of 7 of our regular writers that we work with. Names a lot of people who listen to the show will recognize: Dan Howard, Kev Harrison, Alexandra Elroy. The list goes on. I'll be here all night. But they have all written an individual story. I was really keen to still get their individual voices and individual stories in there. So their stories are their own. And then I've just pulled a few strings to connect them together and have them fit into this big picture. And the idea is that you can listen to them in any order you like.
Yeah. So as of recording this, there's only 1 episode out so far, but I think when this episode goes live, there'll be 3 out.
3, yeah.
So go check it out. And yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, a little Halloween treat for you. And as I was saying, much like you listen to this podcast here, there's a lot of Halloween movies out, but then you need your eyes for them. Can't be driving a car while that happens. Can't be walking the dog or doing the dishes. Think of this as another way to get all that good horror into your brain while you rest your eyes. During
October as well, that's everyone's prime objective, is to consume as much horror-related content as possible. So speaking of which, have you consumed anything with your eyes, ears, mouth, nostrils?
Well, certainly my eyes and ears have consumed a few things. Obviously, it'll be pumpkin carving season, so I'll be consuming some lovely pumpkin soup, I imagine, in the coming days. And the seeds, tell you what, you toast those seeds up with a bit of oil and some salt and pepper. Delicious.
Yeah, you can just buy them, I find.
Yeah. But if you're going to have to carve a pumpkin anyway,
that's true. People,
then you get all the seeds.
There's so much waste with pumpkin carving. You just see so many seeds and pumpkin guts just lying around the streets.
Seeds are the best bit. Get them in here. But before you consume those, we have now both finished Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
And the end did not disappoint.
Yeah, it was so spoilers ahead if people haven't seen Midnight Mass. I'd very much recommend watching it. But for the next 2 to 5 minutes, we're going to be doing some spoilers for Midnight Mass. I'm interested. How do you rate it compared to Mike Flanagan's other Netflix horror TV shows?
I think coming up to the end of it, I think it's probably my favorite. I think it's so good. It's so. I think you nailed it when you mentioned it briefly last week, Luke. It's the antithesis of what we then saw in Halloween Kills. Everything about it is so deliberate and so meticulously planned.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing, and it might be something to go back and watch again. I can't think of a thread or something that was mentioned or even something that was visually introduced.
Yeah.
That isn't paid off and doesn't mean something and doesn't get completed. It's very tidy. Yeah,
and there's a couple of elements that I found really surprising, like story-wise. And at the time I was like, I think that's just broken the story, but it's only because it was so out of left field, and it still works it sort of kind of led towards the end. I'm talking about the death of one character that I just wasn't expecting at all. I thought he was our main guy.
Yeah,
he turned out not to be. And that specific episode where he does watch the sunrise, I thought that was amazing. Like it was so good. It was lovely in a weird way.
Yeah, and visually as well. Like it's so stunning with all the things. It's so stunning that they put all those things together, that they've made all these decisions. The bit when they're out in the ocean in particular, the ocean is, I'm not sure, do you reckon they filmed it? They found a place they could film that, or do you think that they've done it like, CGI?
I think it's CGI. Some of the
real sea doesn't look that good.
No, yeah. It looks too controlled to be real footage. It's really good. I mean, it's weird because it has like a big horror moment at the end, but then it kind of slows down. It's quite a relaxed horror ending, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Do you think that? I know there's a potential for a loose end that could lead to another one. I don't think he made it all those 30 miles too far.
No, I don't think so. Are you happy with the? Because I know someone who said once they figured out what the monster was, they kind of lost interest. But I thought it was really good. I don't know. I thought it was. Really
I thought it was better. And actually, the monster, the actual monster, isn't even the worst guy. He's like, second worst guy. It's the lady who is basically the lady from the shop in the mist. She's the main baddie. She's the worst. Spent the entire thing thinking like, don't want to wish death on anyone, but I hope someone gets you.
I quite like the way her story ended with her kind of panicking and trying to bury herself like a crab or whatever they do.
That was the best bit. I wouldn't have told her. I was, well, you put yourself in a bin bag, you'd been all right. But no.
I swear there's like loads of ways they could they. There's like must be like tarp and stuff. Just hide under the tarp for 24 hours. Figure it out.
But no, there's no time to think in this situation for them.
Let's just sing some songs and explode.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. That's the thing. And again, we'll say spoilers one last time before we say it. When there's vampires in it as well, one of the things I really appreciated, because I always winds me up about vampire fiction, when one of the goodies gets got by a vampire and they're going to turn into a vampire, it doesn't mean they're going to be on the vampire's side. It's say, well, I'm just going to be a vampire and then I'm going to still try and get you, because I'm still going to think you're a dickhead and like my family. So it was nice, I think, that some of those characters, they didn't just become bad vampires, they were still on the level.
Yeah, and the people who were like convinced that it was a good thing were kind of trying to reframe it through their religion to try and force it into that more palatable mold, I guess.
Yeah.
And like also there was the entire episode where the father guy is trying to convince our main character guy that it's a good thing, and then he just ends up warning people. I just thought it was really good. It's really smart. It's really mature and lovely. It does have a few too many monologues, I think, but not enough to hurt.
Yeah, I think they're the only things I could say about it. Is sometimes the monologues, for some people, I think some people will find them perfect and they'll be really meaningful because, as I said,
that monologue.
They're super. They're really, really deliberate.
Here's another one.
Yeah, it's proper like Independence Day speech stuff. Yeah, you'll be like, yeah, you'll really love it. Yeah. Some people they might be a little bit too much. The only other thing I might say about it is, do they live in a world where there is no vampire fiction? Because that would have been great shorthand to explain anything.
They never mention it out loud, do they? They never say we're in a vampire situation.
It's not an angel, though, is it? It's a vampire, clearly.
Obviously a vampire.
You're right.
Yeah, I remember thinking that. Welcome the angel. Definitely not an angel. I've seen Salem's Lot.
How did he convince the vampire to dress up that time?
Yeah, I think the angel. I'm convinced now. The vampire is a kind of religious. I don't know. It's weird because he was well into it, wearing his
dressed up in his little robes for a special occasion.
Yeah.
It was really good though. I liked it a lot, and I think that's the thing that, like, obviously with the priest character in particular, you his motives are things that you question all the way through. You know, is he purely a villain? Is he just like a misguided but at his heart good person?
Yeah.
And he's a really the guy. I don't know the guy who played, but he does such a good job. The actor that plays the Father Paul, he's great. He's really, really good.
All the bad things he does, he tries to just like make them fit his worldview.
Yeah, and he is, and you do believe that when he said that he does really care about the people. He doesn't want to be. Yeah,
he's quite a nice guy, really. I mean, it's just the vampire stuff that's questionable.
It's no good. But I really liked it a lot. I would recommend anyone watch it, especially, and Ben isn't here to advise this. I know he is the perfect category. Like, I think he enjoyed, not putting words in his mouth when he's not here. I think he enjoyed Hill House well enough. Yeah, Ben with his Michael Myers voice. Now, young Ben, you enjoyed Hill House enough, and then I think he was put off by Bly Manor because that was almost like a gothic romance rather than a horror thing, right? But if you've been put off by that, go back and give this a go, because I think it's not the same as the others, and I think you might enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's the best TV show I've seen this year so far. We've still got a bit of time to go. And did you see anything else?
I've been working my way through, and I know we might do something about this. Since we did Halloween Kills, I've been working my way through some other Halloweens. I did the original again. We've done a whole episode on that one. I did Halloween 2, which actually, as a fun slasher, it's hard to say from a mark of quality point of view. It doesn't have the iconic bits of Halloween 1, but I do like it quite a lot. It's a creative slasher movie. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through Season of the Witch right now. My plan is, I think, to watch the whole lot. I think Ben's already done them all, but then we might do a little special for the Patreon, right?
I'd have to rank them. I don't think I've seen a lot of them in years. Season of the Witch I watched last year, I think.
I really like Season of the Witch.
Yeah, it's really good. The Blarney Stone one. I tell you what, I watched. I don't know why. It's really into slashers, I guess, at the minute. But I watched Friday the 13th Part 4, A New Beginning, which is the one with Corey Feldman in it.
Was that? Yeah. Oh, is 4 the end and 5 is the new beginning?
Oh, I beg your pardon. Yeah. So 4's the final chapter. That's right.
Yeah.
The final slash stuff, and then the new beginning is the next one. The New Beetlejuice one when he gets resurrected by lightning, right? That's 5.
That's 6. In number 5,
Even he gets dunked
in
and
number
trapped
in
in the lake.
number 5, it's when it's not him. Corey Feldman is not Corey Feldman anymore. He's grown up and he's in that home.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that's annoying another man. He just chops this kid in the face for pissing him off about ice creams.
Yeah.
And then it's like a paramedic who's gone mad that's actually the Jason. And then I think 6 is Jason Lives.
That's the lightning one.
That's the lightning one.
Yeah. So this one is like he's still just a normal guy to a degree. Like he's got like giant tombstone fingernails, and he's I wouldn't say it's a creative slasher. It's very much a standard slasher, but it's got Crispin Glover doing some insane dance moves.
Oh yes,
it's like he's been tasered, and he's just like feeling the currents every now and again. It's insane. What else? So I watched Dune.
Yes, I've got I'm behind on cinema blockbusters, so I haven't seen a Venom yet. I've still not seen James Bond's. I had No Time to Die, and I haven't seen Dune yet, but I'd like to see all of them. What is your review of Dune, the longer waited?
So I've never seen the old one for some reason, even though I'm a big Lynch fan. I've never read the book, but I do like Denis Villeneuve's oeuvre. And this was like, I went to see it at the IMAX, and it's like it gave me the same feeling I got when watching The Matrix the first time. Like it was absolutely like mind-blowingly good. Like the visuals and the audio, like, and because it's a really cool sci-fi world that I don't know anything about really. Like it's really dark. It's got kind of Warhammer 40K vibes at times. Like you can see where these other things have pulled inspiration from Dune. But it's apart from the fact that it's only like part 1 and we don't know if we're going to get part 2 yet. It's like I was just kind of blown away. I did, like, you know, when you're at the cinema, you're halfway through, you're thinking, I don't want this to end. I literally do not want this film to end. Like it was like
no,
that.
I definitely want to go and see it. It sounds, I've heard from other people whose opinions I really trust. I think they've really liked it. So that's great.
Yeah. Yes, it's oh yeah, and the worms. Like I think the thing that makes it work really well is it feels massive. Like the scale of everything feels massive. So when like the big worms, like when we first reveal them, like I don't know how they pull it off, but it genuinely feels like shocking how good and how massive and how big they feel. And like you feel like if you're in the IMAX theater, you feel like the seats rumbling. There's a worm sort of bubbling out of the sand. Amazing, like seriously amazing. I know
we've got an IMAX near us. I might have to go and get and look.
I saw some people complaining about the characters not being fully fleshed out or anything, but I don't know if that's the case. I think there's just a lot of characters and there's a lot of story to tell. But yeah, 100% recommend and seeing it in IMAX as well. One thing I would say, it was very busy in the cinema, and they seem to have stopped like spacing people out. I think just to get a ticket sold. So I sat right next to a load of people, which
were they good people, or were you not a fan of them?
No, they smelled completely fine. It's just that I don't know if you're a little bit wary still about COVID stuff. Want to watch out for.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that we've been delayed going to the cinema a few times the last week or so. Like Karen has had a completely non-COVID related cough, but it's made her be like, oh, I can't go to cinema now because if I'm not even worried about other people, like thinking like if I go to cinema and I've got a cough, people are going to be like looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, so we've been waiting for that to ease off before we go and see any of those films. But now, just in case, I really want to all these films. I think June's the one I want to go and see at the cinema most. But is it also streaming if that doesn't happen? Like, or is it only in the US that it's streaming? Crack the old VPN out.
I don't know. I don't know about. I mean, I would say if you've got a decent home setup, I mean, maybe don't watch this one on your phone. Like the audio will be so powerful, it will vibrate out of your hands.
Vibrate the phone out of your hands, drop it. Those iPhones, classically fragile.
Exactly,
Yeah, I'd like to go to cinema. I might just literally take a half day or something and have a
Yeah.
couple of little cinema trips.
I still want to go see Venom. For some reason, I don't know why it's calling out to me to be watched. So I need to try and get that scene.
Was it what Ben said today? It's got like a nice Saturday morning vibe or a Sunday. Was that you?
That was me, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know why I said that.
just had the feeling. It's just nice. They're all bright. They're bright coloured Venoms in this one. There's a red one. There's a red Venom.
Yeah. Weirdly, I started rewatching. They've got the '90s Spider-Man cartoon on Disney Plus. Stuck that on the other day. It's still amazing.
Oh, I did a binge of it a few years ago. I think I went through the whole
It's like 5 seasons, isn't there? I think.
the whole shebang. It's really good. It's really really good. I think for me that was my touch point for what Spider-Man was for an awfully long time.
Me too. Yeah, and then I think Ultimate Spider-Man comics came out, and I kind of leaped onto those.
Yeah, I read a lot of. I think I read all of the Ultimate Comics. I was big into the whole series. I didn't read the very end. I've read some of the ones where Miles Morales comes into it. I read it to. Did you read the big event Ultimatum?
No, I remember getting to about issue 20 of Ultimate X-Men and then falling away from it a little bit.
I probably remember Ultimate X-Men the most. I think I read all of those all the way through. It's great. Really liked Ultimate X-Men. I may have dropped off Ultimate Spider-Man a bit earlier and I didn't really touch the Iron Man stuff. I read all of Ultimate Fantastic Four, which was great. I really liked it. It's really, really good. But then there's an event they had called Ultimatum and it follows on from the Ultimates that I also read, which was like their version of the Avengers, which is really, really good.
Yeah, but I do remember reading the first arc of the Ultimates. That's pretty much where a lot of the movie stuff came from, right?
Yeah.
The whole vibe. Before that, Captain America had frilly bits. And
Captain America had frilly bits. Nick Fury was David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, the Ultimate Universe is where he turned into Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, because they literally just drew Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
But yeah, it came to an event they had called Ultimatum where Magneto is pissed off and he flips the Earth poles and loads of people die. And I read it up to that, and I don't think I read many beyond those ones. I used to have all the trades like way back, but good comics.
I might try and you find a reading order list of like a huge what do you call it when it's like multiple comics doing the same running in.
Yeah,
I can't really call it.
You get other guides.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd be well up for that. Have you finished your Morrison run of JLA now?
I don't know, because I've gotten onto some issues that Mark Waid's writing. I think I did like the Tower of Babel, and it's the one after that I'm at.
Yeah, I really liked that. And I think that's the one I'm just starting with my read on it.
Yeah.
And that was the first one I read. I picked it up on its own just in a comic shop. And it's a lot of fun.
Babel, the one with Batman. Well, they use Batman's tactics to.
Yeah, someone steals his plans and practically kills them all.
It's good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's wild. It's good. Superman's got long hair at the start, and he's blue at one point.
The electric blue Superman. I've been listening to. There's a couple of guys who are. That's what started me rereading it, actually. Sorry, superhero hangout time. But I was listening to a podcast called the JLA Cast.
Yeah.
Which is John and PJ, a couple of guys that we'll probably see at Thought Bubble in a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah.
Writers and comic creators, and they are reading through this run, and they have such a good knowledge of it and appreciation of it. Give them a little check out. It's good.
JLA Cast. I will do.
But yeah, other than consuming all of those things, I took on a classic this week.
So Beetlejuice. Just to let people know, we found out yesterday there was a whole Alec Baldwin thing. I don't think we're going to be going into that in this episode. I don't think we want to, and also I think it's all up in the air as to what actually happened anyway. So I really don't want to be making assumptions or anything like that.
Yeah, either way, it's a very sad thing that happened to those person. But
yeah. Also, I'm fairly certain it's not the same Alec Baldwin. I mean, look at him. I always thought if you look at him in 30 Rock compared to this, doesn't look like the same person at all.
I was thinking that when it just came on. It's the same to Karen when we were watching it. Like, it is mad because, like, now with
Yeah.
the modern lens, if someone says Alec Baldwin, you always think of how he appears in 30 Rock, right? That is just like
Yeah.
that is like default Alec Baldwin. But here he is, like, yeah, obviously, years earlier, but it could be a completely different man. You can see if you just
Yeah.
close your eyes, just so.
Squint your eyes, squint your ears a bit. Sound like him a little bit.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but from my recollection, Geena Davis is the same today as she was in
Yeah.
1988 when this came out. She's not aged a day.
Winona Ryder looks very similar as well. She's got the same face. But Alec Baldwin, I mean, Michael Keaton looks the same really in the face. Yeah, but yeah, that worm probably looks the same, I imagine.
Yeah, here he
Um,
is. Yeah.
so Beetlejuice is a 1988 American fantasy black comedy film directed by Tim Burton, produced by the Geffen Company, and distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. If you wanted to know, the plot revolves around a recently deceased couple, Alec Baldwin and Geena Davis, who become ghosts haunting their former home, and an obnoxious, devious poltergeist named Betelgeuse, pronounced on occasion spelled Beetlejuice, from the Netherworld, who tries to scare away the new inhabitants. It's got 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, 85% critic score, 82% user score. The letterbox average is 3.8 out of 5. I'm kind of surprised it's not higher than this. The critics' consensus from Rotten Tomatoes is brilliantly bizarre and overflowing with ideas. Beetlejuice offers some of Michael Keaton's most deliciously manic work and creepy, funny fun for the whole family. A couple of choice reviews from Letterboxd. These are quite these very hyper. I was going to say hyperbolic reviews. So Hyperbomb put, this movie is fucking gold, and I will not associate with anybody who doesn't like it. It is pure blasphemy to speak ill of this masterpiece. 5 stars. And then Givey put, Beetlejuice more like stink bug water. This movie sucks. Half a star. So 2 opposite ends of the spectrum there. I'm surprised it's not universally loved. I've got to say, maybe that's my nostalgia. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of, I don't think there's too much nostalgia to it. There's certainly a degree to it. But yeah, it's one of those I'm surprised by as well. I think it's like of the same era of like your Ghostbusters and your Labyrinth, where I think everyone of,
Yeah.
certainly of a certain generation, you assume everyone would just think it was great.
Yeah.
It's very hard to separate from that as well. Like, I'm not sure what a young audience watching it today would think. Who knows?
Yes. I had to check it with my dad with this, but so I don't remember much about my childhood. I'm not honest. Some people can remember how they were born or what the room number they were born in or whatever. I've never had that, but I've got like really strong memories of like a Beetlejuice birthday cake, and it was like the grave that said "Here lies Beetlejuice," and Beetlejuice action figures. There's a spiky one. I think you pressed something and the spikes came out of him.
Yeah.
And it was my 3rd birthday. So born in '88. So I think it's like 91 or something. But it's like such a big part of my life. Like it's always been somewhere in me. This Tim Burton Beetlejuice.
You've got a little bit of
Universe.
Beetlejuice in you.
Yeah, no glass of Beetlejuice in me.
Were you one for the associated cartoon series that came along after it?
Don't think so. I don't think I even knew about them. Maybe they were. I mean, I was quite young, so
I don't remember the specifics of it. I don't think I ever watched too much of it, or it might be one of those cartoons where in your child brain it existed forever, but actually as an adult knowing
yeah,
about like series runs of that, there were like 8 episodes of it or something like that. But it was effective, and the same is true of things like Little Shop of Horrors as well, where effectively there is an antagonist character
yeah,
who is just, because they're the most interesting character in the film,
yeah,
is just the friend of the thing. So it was Lydia and Beetlejuice, they're just hanging out. He was just like a friend. He was a bit of a drop dead Fred character. He'd come out and he'd get up to some mischief.
yeah, yeah. It's I think I can picture the cartoon in my head, but I've not seen any episodes, and I can see why they would do that because, I mean, he's the most fun character, obviously. It kind of in my head, it kind of reminds me of the Ace Ventura cartoons. Like it feels like quite.
I feel
similar.
like a similar animation studio, like or maybe like a Ren and Stimpy if you turn the grossness down by like a couple of notches.
Yeah, I think a fair few notches. It doesn't have those like random zooming in moments where you see
real close-ups of like
bits of hair
like
and
a mole or
stuff.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this film, the original script was written by Michael McDowell. It is Michael, isn't it? Not Malcolm. Yeah, Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell is a quite a famous horror author in the 80s paperback horror boom. He wrote a couple of amazing books. One's called The Elementals, which is like one of my favorite horror ghost stories. And he's done one called The Amulet, which was quite a big one. I've not read that one. But his stuff is like really dark and like really gory. He wrote the original script, and apparently his original script is quite different to what we got. McDowell's original script is far less comedic and much darker. The Maitland's car crash is depicted graphically, with Barbara's arm being crushed and the couple screaming for help as they slowly drown in the river. A reference to this remains as Barbara remarks that her arm feels frozen upon returning home as a ghost. Instead of possessing the Dietzes and forcing them to dance during dinner, the Maitlands cause a vine-patterned carpet to come to life and attack the Dietzes by tangling them to their chairs. Also, the character of Beetlejuice is a winged demon who takes on the form of a short Middle Eastern man who's intent on killing the Dietzes rather than scaring them, and he wants to have sex with Lydia instead of marry her. In this version of the script, Beetlejuice only needs to be exhumed from his grave to be summoned, after which he's free to wreak havoc. Also, the script features. So also the script has a second child, a 9-year-old Kathy, who's the only person who can see the Maitlands and Beetlejuice. And in the climax, she is mutilated by Beetlejuice, who's in the form of a rabid squirrel. So it's like a Nightmare on Elm
laugh
Street.
a minute.
Yeah. I mean, he does have a kind of Freddy Krueger-esque vibe to him at times.
I feel like those two would get on.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger would be,
or maybe too similar. Wouldn't get on. Really clash.
Well, they're both wearing the stripy tops.
Yeah,
both got strange faces. I mean, this has got to be Michael Keaton's best performance ever, right? Maybe behind Birdman. But
yeah, and he's I forget what the stat is. He's in the film for a ridiculously short amount of time.
He doesn't come in until 45 minutes into the film.
Yeah. But his presence is like throughout. Like you're waiting for him when he's not on screen. He's like it's a bit like when they invented Poochie in The Simpsons. Like when Beetlejuice isn't on screen, everyone's asking, "Where is Beetlejuice?"
Yeah, but it when people say a character like crackles off the page or off the screen, like it's next level. Like everything, every little movement, every little like he's spitting on the floor or I don't know, like cough or burp or fart, whatever he does, it just seems to be like magical. There just seems to be something really like charming about it. And like it's so like I don't know if he was scripted to say some of the stuff he does. Like right at the start, there's like a little advert, and he sings a song, and the lyrics are like, "I will eat whatever you want me to eat. I will swallow whatever you want me to swallow." Like, I don't know what that means.
He's great. He has so much fun with it. Like, and I think it's a real testament to it. If you just look at what Beetlejuice's like character traits are on paper, he should be like the worst guy. Like he's like a horrible man. He wants to do bad things. He is overtly like gross, but he's delivered it with such charisma that you think he's great. Like he's like, oh yeah, like Beetlejuice is okay.
And the way his sort of physicality changes as well. Like even the bit where he's trying to get the job from the Maitlands and he's like suddenly wearing the same shirt.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, it's so funny to watch. I don't know, like, I just found myself smiling every time he's on screen. Well, I haven't seen this film in a long time, by the way. Maybe 8 years.
Couple of years for me. There was like an outdoor screening of it near my parents, so we saw it. Yeah. Saw it out there. That's been still a fair few years now, though, since we last saw it now. But yeah, it was really nice going back to it. Sometimes it's nice when we do a lot of watching a new film. Do it most weeks.
Yeah.
But it was nice to go back to one because we've done quite a few new films recently with varying degrees of success.
Yeah.
So it was nice to go back to an old classic that you could settle back, enjoy. I didn't feel like I had to take notes on this one because I, could probably recite
Yeah.
the plot, without anything written down.
Yeah. I mean, so go on then. How's it
Well, it
start?
begins. We open with, I mean, it's worth commenting, like we open with the view over the town,
Yeah.
that then turns out to be the model, which is like a central piece.
I
But
really like that model
yeah,
in
it's a
general.
great model, and Danny Elfman's. This is peak Danny Elfman music. This and Gremlins. It's
Yeah.
like
Pairing this music up with Tim Burton. Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, and Danny Elfman together. I think so. Was Batman Returns not far after this? I guess I don't
yeah,
know.
it's got to be because this is what 88. Batman Returns would be, or 91
Yeah,
maybe.
it just works so well. Yeah,
Yeah, the theme is great, and like again, having not seen this film for years, I did see it a lot of times as a kid. This is a classic. I had a VHS of this, like videoed off the telly.
yeah, same.
Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, the music straight away, you could hum it along. And like Karen, who famously never remembers the plot of a film that the second we walk out of the cinema,
yeah,
as I was putting it on, she was like humming along to the theme music. So like it's so it's so iconic. It gets into your head, and it gives you. Oh, I'm not musically enough inclined to know the term, but like straight away, even though there's no lyrics to this, it's not about Beetlejuice, but the character and you can conjure the image of the character and what's going to happen from the film
yeah,
from just this piece of music. And it's like, it's not many films that do this, particularly in the modern era, right? Like, can you
yeah.
name a modern film that has like a really solid, not a licensed song, but a theme?
Man of Steel, but that's rare. Like I know what you mean. Like it's almost like nowadays they don't want the music to stick out too much. It's almost like they want it to fade in the background a little bit because like they don't want it to get in the way of the story. But I miss like a really cracking theme that you sing along to.
Yeah, and it's very of that era and slightly before. So you've got your Supermans and your Indiana Joneses are huge examples. Then you get
Yeah,
mostly John Williams scores, right? So then you get like a Jurassic Park, but then you get a Danny Elfman. You've got your Beetlejuice, your Batmans, your Gremlins, and so on as well.
yeah,
So you said Man of Steel. Whenever I think of Superman, I always think of the original Superman theme. I'd struggle to do the specific
yeah.
um, Man of Steel one.
Well, I can't think of it now, but I'm fairly certain if you listen to the first couple of notes, you'll. I mean,
Oh,
you
it'll
think it's a
come
Zimmer?
back.
I think it's a Zimmer classic
Yeah.
potentially.
Any other one I can think of is like it took a couple of films to get it, but I feel like Avengers sticks now. I could maybe hum that one. The big like and then it goes into
Yeah.
your big I could do that one, but
Okay.
there's not
Yeah.
you don't get as many as you used to. And I think it really sets the scene for this one very well. But then that
Yeah.
opening scene ends with a fucking massive spider crawling over their house.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like it's like attacking the little town.
It's okay, Alec Baldwin's not afraid of it, plucks it up there.
Yeah. So we introduced this really massive house. Geena Davis and Alec Baldwin are very happy that they don't want to. In fact, they've taken a 2-week vacation, I think, and it's like it's a staycation. So most
Yeah,
people go out because they want to get away from their day to day. They're very very happy to stay in their house
they love
for
the
their
house
they
so
love it
much.
so much. An estate agent like I think climbs up the walls or something outside.
Yeah, she's desperate for them to try and sell. Is it a figure of speech when she says they're related? Like, or is she actually
Uh,
related to one of them?
maybe she just says that. I don't know.
Because she's bothering him anyway, saying, "Oh, you should sell it to someone who has a family or what have you." This massive old house. And like, no,
Yeah,
Jane, get out.
there's a weird note where she says like um to the family, and we kind of hint that maybe Jeannie Davis can't have kids. Like it's never
Yeah,
mentioned again.
Well, they mentioned they might try again or something. Either way, it's clear that they're interested in having a family, but for some reason they don't. And again, maybe this is a thing of the time. Like, I feel like that is enough. We don't need to explore it any further. In the same way, with it's kind of matter of fact established that Delia is not Lydia's mom. It's a stepmother, but we never go into the details of where her mom is, or whether she's dead or whether they're divorced. Like, it's just thrown out there as a thing that you don't need to know anything else about, and that's enough. And again, I feel like in a modern film, if it wasn't explained in that film, there'd be an entire prequel about it for us to get that thing. But it's just nice incidental detail that gives you enough to make these characters feel a bit more lived in and a little bit more like they have a bit more depth to them. But we don't need to actually put that much of the film into it. And that's just one piece of it, because it makes them a bit sad when Jane says, "Oh, you should give this to someone with a family," and then she immediately backtracks and apologizes.
So I think Alec Baldwin wants to build a bit more model. It's like, I need a bit more model on this.
He's got to pop to the shops and get some more model pieces. Got to get some of that little grass that you put on.
Yeah, he's got some new Warhammer 40k Space Marines that need doing up.
I need a blood crimson to paint this.
Yeah. What is that little grass called? It's just like,
I don't know. I know it's got a name. It's like a special. It's like a little bottle, things of felt, and it makes like pretend grass.
Yeah. Miniature AstroTurf. So he doesn't drive. So I'm going to say Lydia. Is her name? No, Barbara.
Barbara. Yeah.
Barbara drives him to the shops. He goes in, picks up some bits and pieces. I think they say hello to a barber who's going on about someone with long hair for some reason.
Yeah.
And then as they're driving back, there's a dog.
Chekhov's dog, because you see him when they go to the shop just milling along.
Yeah.
They don't see him, so it's too late.
They crash into the side of the bridge. The dog's on the end of the. It's all very. I don't know how to describe this. It's all orchestrated, almost like a silent movie. Like, you wouldn't need any audio to know exactly what's going on and to feel the peaks and the troughs of this little story. That the dog is on the last bit of plank that's holding them up. They look at him, and then he suddenly jumps off, and the car goes flying into the river below. It's not very deep. I mean,
people, I think in 1988, a bit like how
very weak.
Yeah, I mean, like, people have evolved over time. We don't notice this within our lifetime. But if you remember, like, if you look at like the Victorian era, if you read like a Sherlock Holmes, and like, you could die of having a stressful week.
Yeah.
If you have like a real bad week, you get a brain fever, and you've got two choices: go and live at the seaside for a few months to get better, or die. Like, literally just fade away, like give up on life like Padme and just die.
Yeah. If we were in that car, I mean, our gills would probably show. Just finally split down our necks, and we'd be fine. Swim away without new.
Either that, or we just get out and stand up in what looks like sort of waist deep water.
It is the kind of water I used to let our dog swim around in when she was a puppy. I didn't want to go too deep, so I just let her on the sides, and she'd like paddle the feet in there. Like, it doesn't look strong at all. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe surprisingly deep. Maybe there's a shelf in there, like whatever you call it.
Maybe, and this will be a niche reference, Luke, but it's not like we're a stranger to those. It's that water from that boss in Metal Gear Solid 2, and if you touch it, it's like deoxygenated, and you'll just sink right to the bottom. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that water specifically.
It is. It definitely is.
It's Hideo Kojima's own special pool. And you fall in there, and you'll fall into oblivion. You'll be gone. That's where he got the idea from years later in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
They're gone. Basically, they've fallen in the water. Well, we find out that they didn't survive because we cut straight from them falling into the water to them walking back into the house soaking wet. So if we didn't know that the rest of the film was happening, you think it's inconvenient for them to walk home all wet.
Yeah. plot hole. How did they get home? Well, they I guess like now that they're ghosts, they go back to their house or the place they like love the most or
Yeah,
something.
they'd haunt that bridge, wouldn't you, where they drowned? But no,
Exactly.
they haunted the house.
Most ghosts would haunt the river. Like so you'd look over the edge of the river and you'd see them looking
See him
back at
in there
you.
going, ooh,
Yeah,
at the bottom.
exactly. Yeah. No, they go back
But no,
home.
they're back at the house.
Yeah. Lydia, Barbara mentions a cold arm, which at the time I just thought was strange, but now we know it's because of the previous version of the script.
No, the dark version of the script.
And then it all seems okay, but I think they try to go outside and they find themselves on Neptune.
Yeah,
Is it Neptune or Saturn?
You go briefly to a weird cartoon dimension where there's, I think Alec Baldwin goes to go outside, and he, when Barbara pulls him back up the porch, he's been gone for like 2 hours.
And there's a big worm. It's Saturn.
Is it actually Saturn? I did not know that. So if you're a ghost, outside of your house is Saturn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and there's big Tim Burton worms on there.
I've never looked into it. I'd always just assumed
I
that
think Beetlejuice says it or something. He says
it was just a dimension, like it was just like
I always thought it was like
dimension.
a Lovecraftian dimension, otherworldly place full of eldritch creatures and stuff.
But you're telling me if you were alive in Beetlejuice world and you got on a spaceship to Saturn, that is what you would find.
Hey, where's that ghost come from? Yeah, pretty much. Then again, you won't see the ghost. It's only certain people who can see it.
So you would just see a sandworm.
Maybe that's a ghost sandworm.
Which is like a big sandworm monster in a knitted sandworm costume, that they wear.
That eats ghosts.
Yeah. That eats ghosts.
It's cool, isn't it? Lore.
That's so much weirder than ever. Saturn.
Yeah, I don't think I realized before, but yeah, Beetlejuice says it, and I've just had a quick Google, and it is 100% filmed on Saturn.
So I take it back. I was going to say one of my criticisms of it was perhaps of all the things that still work. Maybe some of those bits don't hold up as well today, but now I know it's actual footage of Saturn.
Yeah,
completely on board, because that's what I imagine Saturn to look like.
Yeah, yeah.
So he goes to Saturn briefly. I guess that's why he's been gone for 2 hours.
Takes a long time to get there. Yeah.
And there are sandworms on there, so they've established that they can't leave the house. And they're testing out other things that show that they are ghosts now. Like when they move the little horsey in front of the mirror, they don't have reflections anymore.
There's the book as well, that handbook for the recently deceased, which they try and read and they can't like make sense of. I can't remember the first time they go see. I don't think they go and see.
They don't go until they're getting a little bit desperate yet. So they're just stuck at home and fed up, really, until.
I think maybe it's around this time we get a point of view shot of Beetlejuice reading a newspaper, watching the TV, and he's like, there's been 13 sandworm incidents, and there's various bits of news and stuff, and he's in the obituaries, that's where he finds the Maitlands.
Yeah.
He calls them a couple of chumps.
Yeah, he says, look at them, stupid, nice and stupid. Yeah, I'll con them into helping me get out of the prison that I'm stuck in currently.
Yeah. And then we're introduced to the Dietz family.
So there's Charles, actual Lydia this time, and then Delia Dietz.
That's such a Tim Burton name, isn't it? Delia Dietz. I feel like it is. Played by what's her name? Catherine
O'Hara. She's so good.
Yeah, amazing. I also thought what's his name was really good as well. The guy who plays Ofo, who I recognize from various stuff, but I can't really think where.
Watching this as an adult now, like those two characters in particular, you definitely get a very different dimension on them as a watching it as an adult than we do as a kid, because like when you watch it originally, it's kind of an ineffective dad, a kind of like a disinterested, like slightly shallow, like stepmom character, and then just her awful friend from the city.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see them now. Don't relate to them anymore necessarily, but like you can see that actually those characters they have a lot more comedic lines in there than I had given this film credit for when I was a kid. Because I was a lot more interested in the ghosts and the character that was closest to my age at the time.
Yeah, and Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Mainly. Beetlejuice and Worms. I think, yeah, same. And also, I really liked the sculptures and the bit where they crumble into they turn into little prune people. You know, when they're being exercised.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff I found really good. Yeah.
That's good. And those sculptures as well. Maybe it's just a thing. I don't think with a modern slant on it, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw those as sculptures now. Maybe in the 80s that was outlandish. Like no one does sculptures like that. Sculptures look like a man, like sitting on a plinth.
Yeah.
But now those sculptures, you'd be like, that's a sculpture.
Yeah. One of them looks like just like a chair you'd have in a modern restaurant, like a little hand thing.
Yeah.
One of them looks like, you know, you go to like shops for adult boys, like gadget shops.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you'd maybe see one or two of those in a gadget shop next to next to those things like the metal pins that you press your face into.
Oh yeah, you'd find one there to put on like a lovely desk lamp. Yeah, and so this is when they're moving in, right, and they're bringing in all of the sculptures and so on. Yeah. And I guess the main thing to take as they're starting to move in is that they are the opposite of the Maitlands, right? Particularly like the dad is like a big business guy who is, they imply, had a nervous breakdown, so had to move away to Connecticut.
Yeah.
Out of the big city. Delia is like a frustrated artist and who has, clearly really like high maintenance.
Yeah.
And then she has like a guru or like an art consultant that's come with her.
What is he? Because he's like, he said he worked in hair design, and because he knows a certain color, like I think it's just like vermilion or something. Like she doesn't know what color vermilion is, and he's like, it's green and blue. And he goes, I worked in hair design. Did you? Just for a couple of years. And he also worked as like a spiritual medium and a interior decorator, a bit of everything. He's going around with a spray can, and just like marking walls, like the trees that need to be cut down or something.
And this is when they first try to scare them away, right? They're like, right, we're ghosts, so we can do something about this.
Gorier than I remember.
Yeah.
It's like Alec Baldwin's head has been cut off, and I mean, how do you do that as a ghost? Do you just know that you'll be able to put it back on? How do you not know that like that's a one and done thing? Once you get your head off, it's not going back on.
Maybe that was something that they did read in the book. Oh, you can. Like, it's fine. You can chop this off. And this is where Barbara's like hanged in the cupboard and like pulls her face off.
Yeah, and her eyes pop out. And then they kind of slam her aside like she's just in like an old haggardy old dress.
Yeah, because they like do that a couple of times, don't they? Where it's like, oh my goodness, look at this wallpaper.
Yeah. So the basic gist is that they don't care about or they seem to think of the Maitlands as what's the word? I don't know, like quaint or
it's kind of like they've come in from the big city and they are, they want like a contemporary design. It feels like this, like a moth-eaten old house with these people that are dead, and they want to basically change everything. And I guess there's some nice reality to that as well, because when you move into a house, you probably do want to decorate and put your own stamp on it. And why would you be polite or respectful of what the previous people, because you don't know, it's not as if they're standing there watching you when you buy a house, right? Particularly if those people are dead. So, you know, you kind of make a judgment, don't you, and say, oh, you know, they're just trying to do what I don't think is not an unusual thing. Just that these people are ghosts and are standing there watching them slag them off.
Do you ever worry that there are ghosts in the houses that you move into? Of people who used to live there?
Maybe. Don't know. Have you ever worried about that too much? Do you slag them off when you walk in? Go and spray paint the walls?
I'm always spray painting the walls and slagging ghost stuff. Pretty much my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
No, I think because this house is fairly new, I don't think anyone died here. But if you're in an older house, you got to watch out for ghosts. If you look through a keyhole at the wrong time, you'll see a little.
There could be one looking back.
Yeah,
exactly, our last house. You've been.
Yeah, your house
was,
now.
My old house was pretty spooky.
That's a cool house. I think it had like an extra level to what I remember.
It had like an underground, and it had Resident Evil doors through all the house.
Yeah.
With like big like latches that you'd have to lift and like creak the doors open. This house that I live in now is less spooky.
Yeah. Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time I'll get a spooky house and we'll spray paint the walls and offend all the ghosts. Yeah. But yeah, they've had no success in scaring them effectively.
Yeah, and then I think, sorry if you can hear that plane going over. It's a ghost plane. I think they're reading the manual. Maybe it's around this time they get the business card that says bioexorcist Betelgeuse, and they don't know how to pronounce his name properly.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Does it bring up that Adam, isn't it, is the name of his character's name? Whenever he's reading things, he has a habit of mispronouncing them, and we never lean into why that is. But she's always correcting his pronunciation, where it's like handbook for the recently deceased.
Oh yeah, yeah. I never really put that together, but yeah.
And it's the same as when it's like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, but they don't do that. Instead, I think they open the manual, and you just need to draw a door, and they draw the door
if you need help. Yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh, I forgot the handle. To put the handle on." I can't remember if they have to. Oh, they have to knock 3 times. Yeah. I mean, this kind of stuff, I've got to say, like, as a kid, like, it blew my mind. I don't know why. I just like really liked this kind of fantastical ideas that you could just draw a door and then it would open.
It's great, like the world building stuff as well, right? So, and Lydia's outside and she sort of sees a green glow coming through the door because she's already kind of possibly spotted them through the window.
Oh yeah.
And Barbara's like, that little girl saw us. And it seems strange that she describes it as a little girl because Winona Ryder looks the same age then as she does now.
Yeah.
And I think also as well, it's strange because I think they describe her as a little girl, and it is true, she is a child in it. But at the time I watched this, she was still older than I was at the time. So I was like,
yeah,
you're a big kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go into like the waiting room for the afterlife, and they have another nice bit of great lore, right? And they bring it up in a joke later on, which is all these people have died in weird and wonderful ways, and they are in the state that they were when they were killed, which makes me wonder, why weren't Adam and Barbara really wet all the time? Were they not soaking wet forever?
I guess that's not part of their physical body. Like the water wouldn't become part of you, if that makes sense. Whereas like a scar, that's like physically changing. I bet if you looked in their lungs would
full of water.
I don't know. What happens to you when you drown? You swallow. You don't
drink
swallow.
it.
You're
just full of water. Yeah.
I bet if they jump around, they'd hear it.
The sloshing
around. Yeah.
Yeah. But all the other people in the afterlife are all in various states of disrepair because everyone who works for the civil service, people that have killed themselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you kill yourself, you end up as a civil service person. That's quite good. There's a guy who smoked, and he's now just like a tiny blackened charcoal thing with still smoking.
I wondered, like, has he been like, is it that he, as a kid, my reading of that was, oh, he smoked so many cigarettes that he got all charred up. But I'm guessing what happened was he blew himself up like when it's a Tom and Jerry and he's put like a bomb inside a thing and he's looking inside it and it like blasts his face off.
Maybe I still thought like he just smoked so much he'd crumbled himself to dust, but
I thought he'd
right, pretty blew himself
had
up.
been in like a gas explosion.
Yeah, probably had a petrol fight at the petrol station and he lit a cigarette. So and then there's like who else is there? There's like a crushed flat.
There's like a man. Yeah, there's like an admin guy who's like going around in like a pulley system. He's been crushed by a truck by the looks of things. There's a magician's assistant who's in two halves on the sofa. There's like a shrunken head man. Classic
shrunken head guy. Like you never forget that guy.
Yeah.
You'd be thinking about that guy on your deathbed. I wonder if I'm going to see the shrunken head guy.
I mean, he's in the afterlife, so I'm assuming having a shrunken head is what killed him.
Yeah. And the woman behind the reception says you get 3 D90s, I think they're called D90s, where you get to speak to your caseworker, who I think is called Juno. Juno. It's Juno. But I think they're supposed to spend 120 years in the house.
Haunting the house, yeah. Like, I don't know how that gets worked out, and I'm not sure if they fully explain it, but effectively, their job is to haunt that house for 120 years, and then they can go and do whatever.
Yeah. And at this point, whoever the receptionist is, says Juno will be in touch at some point. I don't think they see it for a little bit.
Sit and wait for a bit, and they go and sit down and wait. We see some of these characters. They then walk up. They then are told to go along to meet Juno, and they have a brief look at the spooky room where the exorcised ghosts live.
Oh yeah, with the crumbly people floating around.
Yeah.
I
found this quite scary when I was a kid.
It is quite scary. Yeah. So I think they just go back to the house, right? But like loads of times past, it's been completely.
Basically, they go back to the house. They meet Juno, who explains to them that her job is to basically assess who deserves and needs help. And she says, like, "Oh, is there any available help?" She goes, "No, there isn't. Like, you're ghosts. Like, try harder to scare the people off if you want them out." Yeah. And they realize that it's their house that they're in, and they were waiting in that waiting room for 2 months.
Yeah.
So
we also find
out that's been done.
Beetlejuice was her assistant, but he went rogue or went freelance. And she says not to use him because he's chaos, and he pretty much
he's a right wrong, and he is. Yeah, he's no good. He's a bad one. I was reading a little bit because I know the Beetlejuice musical is a big thing now. Yeah. But it's good. But apparently they have a more significant relationship in that one. They actually share some screen time or stage time in the musical, and they have some other form of relationship between Beetlejuice and Juno. But again, in this film, it's just nice that you've got the characters know each other, even though they're never on screen at the same time.
Yeah, bit of backstory.
Yeah, he's his assistant. They said he was her assistant. He's no good, and she sort of warns them off, phoning him.
Yeah,
doesn't offer any other practical advice, and then disappears in like a cloud of cigarettes from that smoke.
And then they to try and scare Delia, they put like cloaks. No, they're going to go to the dad first. They put on some sheets. They cut holes in them, and the dad's like, "Oh, Lydia, you shouldn't have done that to the really expensive sheets. Your mum will kill you." Then they go to the mum, and they're trying to do it, and she's like fast asleep, and she wakes up and tries to
turns off the TV. Yeah. They do the best ghost moaning on this, and it's like, woo.
But then Lydia overhears that and it's like, "Oh, mum," because she thinks they're having some hanky-panky time. But then they come out and she starts taking loads of photos of them. I mean, even if that was your mum and dad and they came out in sheets, what are you taking photos of them for? If you
send them to Esther Ransom, Childline, and said, "Look at this, pervs
with eye holes." Yeah. And then she notices that they haven't got any feet. I think this is like the first proper introduction. Like Lydia's not scared at all.
Yeah, she asks if they're like gross and like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
She loves the Romero series, does Lydia.
Yeah.
And then she pulls it, and then she can see them, which we get one of the big lines of the movie, I guess, where it's like, oh, because she has read the book while they were away, and she said, oh, I read it, it's fine. Like I said, oh, like it says that they already established that most living people won't see dead people because, most living people don't see things that are strange and unusual, where she herself is strange and unusual. She's really good in this. She's really, really good.
Winona Ryder, like when I watched this and Heathers, and some other stuff from like her earlier years, she's just so charismatic. Like she obviously was going to be like a big star from the get-go. Like she's very easy to watch and kind of charming as well. But she's really, really good in this. So I can't remember where it goes from here. Lydia, I don't know.
So Lydia's been talking to them. She sort of tells she tells the mom and dad that there's ghosts, and they don't believe her still. Or they don't. At least they don't care. And she's trying to tell Delia, and she's preparing for a dinner party, which is when they try their next thing. And again, as a kid, I loved this scene. They have a dinner party round. It's Otho and like an agent and some of the kind of arty type people. And
I recognize that guy, like the art critic or curator guy. He looks like
it's her agent, isn't it? Like he plays her.
Was he a talk show host? I want to say.
I'll look at who he is.
Who the hell? Dick Cavett. Yeah.
Dick Cavett. There he is.
Yeah, that's definitely him, Dick Cavett.
Hang on a second. He's in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. When we next go back to the Freddy well, we'll see him in that.
Yeah.
And he plays there's a bit on that where he's on a talk show host. So yeah, he probably is himself in that movie.
On primetime.
Yeah, when it's Welcome to Primetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's him. But yeah, he is not impressed, and he basically tells Delia that she's a flake after a while. But this is when they do their special ghost ability is doing musical possessions.
Yeah, and it's really good. I mean, this is the song that anyone would kind of, if you sang it, I think anyone would sing along with you. They're like, come and they won't go. And then they start dancing.
Yeah.
And there's that weird dance move where they've got like a flannel and they're kind of chucking it at their face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always
wafted it around.
Like, what is that a dance move? Because there doesn't seem to be any logic or rhythm.
It's puzzled me for a long time of how they were doing it. Were they jumping inside their bodies, Bill and Ted style, and like steering them around? Or are they ghosts because they're invisible? Are they like just grabbing their hands? And that dance move reminds me of that. If they were like just grabbing them by the wrists and like steering their hands around, and maybe that's how they're doing it.
But then they all turn around at the same time and shove their bums in the air. So I don't know how they would.
Impossible. Like, one's like kicking one, they've got their arms out of the other. I don't know how they're doing it. Magic, I guess. Ghost magic.
But it ends with the prawn cocktails turning into prawn hands, like grabbing their faces.
Big fists. Like, that's quite scary.
Yeah. I mean, what is that monster with hands like that? Like 10 hands coming out of the bowls. Yeah. I would not like to see the other side of that creature.
But they're not afraid of it. They think it's brilliant.
Yeah, they're like saying it's like an amusement park. They're like energized. They were like, this is going to make us a load of money. We're going to open a paranormal research center and museum. They I can't remember. I think he even calls his boss or something. He's like trying
he's been on the phone to the boss before, but Othos basically says to him, well, now you have a reason to try and get him to come down because you have a money-making idea. So it's kind of inspired them more than ever to stick around.
Yeah.
So kind of frustrated with them, they pop along to they see an advert for Beetlejuice on the TV first.
I think that's the bit when it's like, I'll eat anything you want me to eat. I'll swallow anything you want me to swallow. Like really like insane. Oh, I can't remember how they teleport down to the board.
They say his name 3 times and then they just teleport down and they have to dig him out still after he's there.
But isn't that like, yes, weird. But I kind of figured that would be enough to summon him, but maybe it's not. So they shrink down to his grave, and you have to dig him out of like a load of cardboard. But I don't know why. I just really like all the model stuff. Like, there's something really cool and quirky about them digging out the cardboard, and it looks genuinely like massive cardboard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like big cardboard or like little that cork stuff that you get on those model boards. It's great, and they have to dig him out, and then he comes out of his grave. And then, as you say, like this is well into the movie that you get to meet him properly.
Like it's pretty much halfway in. Yeah, he's coming across quite nice. But like he's like overly nice. Like he's asking if Barbara's single, or like if he can have a go, or like something horrendous.
Yeah, like he's gross, and he immediately puts their back up, right?
Yeah, and then he's like, I think he's like going to invite them into some. By the way, we did before. There's a little bit where he eats a massive fly, who screams, "Help me!" As he's being devoured.
Fly that speaks English. Yeah, so he's there, and he kind of like they change their mind very quickly. He does this great. I said, I think this is one of my favorite bits as a kid when they're asking what his qualifications are. I have again when I was a kid, the bit I love is the bit we see him. He has the back to the camera, and he obviously does something incredibly scary with his face.
Oh yeah.
But now as an adult, you watch it back, and the bit you really like is like, oh yes, I trained at Juilliard, and then I did this. He's very funny, but he's not going to. He kind of turns these guys off the idea because he's clearly like an unhinged character, so they don't want to subject particularly Lydia to, because he's a bit grabby as well.
Very handsy.
Yeah, like he'd be cancelled these days.
Yeah.
But he is straight out of it. So they teleport home, and he's furious. Sort of swears at them a little bit. And this film things were different in the 80s. They obviously, like, you can die a lot more easily, but in a film rated PG, you can say nice fucking model.
Yeah, that was cut apparently in the theatrical version, but yeah, he does say nice fucking model, and he kicks the tree, and the tree collapses.
Yeah, kicks the tree over, grabs his crotch, or honks his crotch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, that's just the start of it. Later on, there's like a sex house or something. Like a little... Adam, why did you make that? I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, he's made like a brothel.
Yeah. So I think Beetlejuice even just sort of cracks. It's weird because he just cracks on and does something anyway, like turns into a snake.
Yeah, that's right. Like I guess he's out of the thing now, isn't he? So he is out, and he's been dug up, even though they haven't agreed to work with him. The other guys come up into the attic, and Otho finds their book. Otho finds their book, and they just pockets it for now. And yeah, on the way downstairs, the banister is turned into a horrid snake.
I mean, it feels very Freddy Krueger, and also Beetlejuice looks genuinely scary, like compared to what the Maitlands were doing. Like Beetlejuice looks like he could cause some harm. I think he even throws one of them over the banister. Yeah,
he throws the dad over the, like, he hangs him sort of dangling head first over the the chasm of the stairs and drops off, you would definitely die. If
Yeah.
those people died from falling in that river, he could die from falling down those stairs.
Yeah. I don't think he does anything to Lydia or anyone else. I know I think he slaps Otho on the bum and rolls him down the stairs.
Yeah, he smacks him on the bum and sends him down the stairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is basically cleaning house, and then the guys come back and they Beetlejuice him away. Say his name 3 more times, and he is sent.
Yeah. So I don't understand I honestly don't understand the logic. So that sounds like they have put him away. Like they Beetlejuice 3 times the first time, and dug him out of the grave. And now they Beetlejuiced him back home.
Yeah, but they teleported themselves out of the table, not by saying his name 3 times, but by saying home, home, home.
But
so maybe that was it. He hadn't been toggled off.
But this time they toggled him off this time because they said Beetlejuice 3 times. Oh yeah, that makes sense because then Lydia wakes him up later on. Okay.
Yeah.
But then
So currently Beetlejuice is off.
But then Juno turns up and says, and has a go at him for. Oh, okay. I guess Juno turns up, has a go at them, and then says you need to do it yourself. And then she says, "Show us your scariest faces." Sorry, we've missed a point here as well. Lydia thinks that the Maitlands did the whole snake thing.
They called up. Well, it was them that's behind it. Why did you do it? And she's annoyed with them, and she goes up on her own. And you're right. And then Juno summons the Maitlands back and tells them off. She reveals that she created the brothel to keep him distracted.
That's funny. I mean, you could just pop a brothel somewhere, and he would casually be drawn to it.
If you're in the afterlife, you know how to conjure a brothel.
There's like little devil girls in the windows looking out.
Yeah, like demons.
Yeah. And there's AC inside. For some reason, there's a little sign that says air conditioned. I noticed that.
It's great.
So, Gina says, "Show your scariest faces," and Adam kind of pulls his head into like horns, and
it's like a hand in the back, like it's like if you had a rubber, like it's like a big like chicken head.
Yeah, looks like the chicken from Wallace and Gromit, Wrong Trousers, and he pulls his nose out, and he also puts his eyeballs on his fingers. So he's got eyeballs,
and multiplies them, so he's got eye hands.
What does Lydia do? She kind of opens her mouth really wide.
Yeah, so Barbara rolls her eyes back into her head, flicks them inside, and then her eyes are inside her mouth. She gives herself a big sort of hippo mouth.
Yeah, and it looked great. Like even today, I think
these are good effects.
Cool creature designs. And when Barbara speaks, her tongue waggles.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and her face is all bunched up on top of her. So I think they're going to go back, but when they do, Lydia's in the room and they scare her again because of their faces, and then they go back to normal, and then explain that it was Beetlejuice. I can't remember what happens now. I think basically, has
Beetlejuice met them? I think Beetlejuice has met her already because he's been doing charades to get her to. She almost summons him, and then they turn.
Happened when he has like the beetle.
That's just when he there's a beetle that appears behind her, and then she's about to summon him when they come back and stop her. Because he has said that they've moved on, they're on the other side, and I can take you through to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn up, and then because she has written a suicide note, because very likely for a film that she has planned to kill herself.
Yeah, and then they get back and say, I mean, obviously, being dead doesn't end anything.
That's worse in many ways.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the setup. But in the time they've been away, basically, the boss has come over. They're pitching the things to them, and Otho, having found the book, has a method. If they won't cooperate and come and talk to them, Juno's kind of warned the guys of you cannot let living people get irrefutable proof that there's such a thing as ghosts.
Yeah.
but using the book for the recently deceased, Otho begins what is effectively an exorcism.
Yeah.
And they kind of disappear and are summoned into their wedding clothes, and they start getting all old and wrinkly.
Yeah. I think
So,
Adam's jaw pops off as well.
yeah, so they're both knackered. They look terrible. I used to hate this bit as a kid because it's sad and quite scary.
It's like what I would call like a Johnny Five moment. You know, Johnny
Oh my
Five gets
god!
beaten.
When he gets beaten with those baseball bats, I was glad he turned into a punk, and then he doesn't kill them; he just captures them on a hook.
Yeah, he's like swings it like Tarzan's onto them or something. So yeah, it's sad. They're getting exercised. I mean, in the same way that like I look like after I've been exercising, after a 10K run, always feel quite crumbly.
Especially if you go into a bath, like it feels like they have the look of someone who's been in the bath. Like, you know, if you were in a bath where you get like wrinkly fingers, imagine if you were underwater in that bath for ages as well. That's what you'd look like all over.
Yeah, you come out in a wedding dress. What?
Yeah. Oh no. Go into the lost souls room.
Yeah.
So Lydia goes upstairs and asks Beetlejuice to help them and there's a turn from the family here as well. Again, watching it as a kid, my memory had always been that they weren't really too bothered. It was something that Lydia was in front of, but the others didn't know was really going on. But actually, most of the characters like, that's enough now, you've got to stop, and he doesn't know how to stop it.
Yeah.
So they're not entirely all that bad.
Yeah.
But they don't have, certainly the mom and dad like, you've got to stop this now, and he doesn't know how to stop it. So she goes up, and Beetlejuice goes, I can help you, but I do have to get married. So do you want to give us a hand with that?
I mean, how old is Lydia supposed to be?
She's at school doing like math tests, so she's don't know,
a bit strange.
Like 13, 14.
Too young. But again, Beetlejuice is extremely sleazy. That's his like defining characteristic.
Yeah.
So she says Beetlejuice 3 times, and now this time he's like completely off the hook. He's I don't know. He's so he starts off by turning into I don't even know what you call it, like a carnival,
an entire
ride.
circus.
Yeah, like he turns to it's got like a big top hat thing, and he has these like giant hammers. And then the guests, he starts by hammering them out of through the ceiling.
Yeah, they definitely die, right?
Definitely. I mean, if the Maitlands died of that river, these guys, their heads exploded when they hit the attic.
Yeah. So basically, if you could die falling, about 10 feet into a river?
Yeah.
Like those guys being smashed through the roof on a test your strength machine, dead before they hit the ground.
Exactly, yeah. So they're in space or something by that point, so we don't see them ever again. So, and then what he did. So
the other two escape. The mom and dad are captured by
sculptures. Yeah, and then I guess Beetlejuice just turns into he has this like red wedding suit on.
Oh, he turns Otho into puts him in a blue suit. I didn't get the reference on this one.
Yeah, so I guess I never bothered me before when I was a kid, but now I was like, what? Is it just not fashionable? Maybe that's it. It's like he's forced him to wear something a color. Hey, you know what it is? Maybe it's the vermilion color. Maybe there's something.
Could be the vermilion.
Maybe there's something there. Maybe he mentioned he hated the color or something, and he puts him in a vermilion suit.
And it's no good for him. He just crashes out the window.
Yeah, I don't know what happens to him. He runs away.
He just runs away because he's won a bad color. Again, like, now you've blown my mind with the Saturn thing, Luke. I'm going to have to look up what he actually does to him.
It's not vermilion. That's more of a red. Cerulean, maybe? I can't remember.
With it, like, as watching this as a kid, I was like, oh, he's dressed him as Elvis. Oh, no, not Elvis. Famously uncool man. But yeah, he dresses him as Elvis and bungs him out the window. And he the process of the exorcism looks like it's kind of subsiding. He's stopped it. They start to recover ever so slightly.
Yeah.
So they're starting to get better. So he saved them. So you know what? Say what you like about Beetlejuice, but he did keep his word on this occasion.
So now I need to know about the color of that suit and if it was seeded earlier on. Oh, we'll find out later on.
We'll get there. But yeah,
like a little UFO looking ghost, alien looking ghost comes out of the fireplace to marry them.
Little tiny sort of
just like the aliens
ghost
from,
vicar.
Just like the aliens from Bad Taste. They've got a similar kind of face.
Yeah, a bad taste alien ghost vicar comes out and starts to do the wedding. Beetlejuice does some ventriloquism because, of course, Lydia's not going to agree to it.
Yeah.
In many ways, for all his faults, he did keep up his part of the deal. But probably starts to lose a bit of goodwill with this whole forcing a marriage thing.
He pulls out the ring. It's like on someone's finger from another wife, I guess, or something. He said that she meant nothing to me, I promise. He sends Adam into the model, who gets in the little car.
So he tries to say Beetlejuice first, but he teleports him away.
Yeah.
This has got a bit I feel like this performance that you get here, and you mentioned Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of antics that Beetlejuice gets up to here, the fact that Adam's about to come and get him and he does like a hold it and he kind of freezes just before he's going to go and get him. I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Carrey didn't get a lot of the mask from this as well, right? It's got a very like a cartoony feel to him. He has like cartoon ghost powers.
Like someone using cartoon logic in the real world. That's kind of a weird superpower. Yeah, I know what you mean. As I was thinking about Jim Carrey as I was watching this, like Michael Keaton, I don't think he ever really did a performance quite like this again. But like it's so zany and wild, and cartoonish. But it's so I don't know. It's just so fun. I'm sure Jim Carrey got some inspiration.
Yeah, I feel like this drives a lot certainly of the mask, and that's it. He pulls him. As you're right, he teleports Adam into the model. Barbara gets out two Beetlejuices. One he like zips her mouth closed, and then he just whacks like a massive, like a metal plate across her mouth so she can't say it.
Yeah.
A third time.
I don't know who says it again then.
Well, no one does
because
no one says it a third time because
Adam drives into his shoe and blows like a little car up.
He blows it, and then Barbara's been teleported to Saturn. You can also teleport people all the way there.
Well, this is even weirder then, because how did she ride the worm from Saturn to that living room through the wall? Because like the wall kind of gives away and it's Saturn outside. I guess like she's breaking the portal or something. No.
Well, you see, my reading if it was just outside the house, then maybe because there's a bit earlier on where they go to, I think they're frustrated with the Dietzes moving in and they go to storm out the house and they both end up on Saturn for a while and she punches the sandworm in the face.
Oh yeah, and he goes.
So it gets snorted. So maybe in the few seconds she's in Saturn, she's tamed the sandworm.
That makes sense because time's like dead slow over there. I mean, dead quick over there, but the right way. It's like Interstellar. That you get.
But she was when Adam was gone earlier. He only stepped off the porch and he was gone for 2 hours. But in this case, she's been in Saturn for 8. Maybe it's like a Venus thing where the days are longer than the years.
Yeah,
or something like that.
She's spent an entire lifetime on Saturn. She's
taming that worm.
Worms. Yeah, she's part worm now. She's more.
And she drives the worm through the ceiling, and Beetlejuice gets like smashed to oblivion by him.
Yeah, does he get air?
He just kind of smashes him to pieces, like smashes him through the floor, and he's gone.
Yeah, and for some reason that sends him to the afterlife. Like he ends up in the waiting room. I don't think they thought this stuff through completely.
Yeah,
but I don't think you need to.
I mean, yeah, there's so many like logical leaps, but because of that cartoon logic, you just let it go. Like, oh, he lost, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then everything goes back to normal.
Yeah, I think everyone's living together. Lydia's no longer into the cure.
She's
She's
not the
now,
goth anymore. Yeah,
yeah, she's now just a hovering. I don't know who that band is who did that.
if she does well in the maths test, then she can do a sing song
Yeah,
and do some flying through the air. They can use their ghost ability to do kind of musical numbers.
yeah,
And mum and dad are quite happy that they're there.
yeah. It's weird because the dad is kind of relaxed into his home now, and he doesn't want to start a new business every 2 seconds. And I think
Yeah.
that maybe Catherine O'Hara.
Delia's making like Beetlejuice sculptures.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she is. Yeah, and she scares the dad. Maybe that will make her a world famous artist. I hope so.
I hope so. And if she does well on the maths, and effectively though, they just live with Lydia now and have given up parenting
Yeah.
in favor of the ghost just raising their daughter.
Well, why not? It's a bit easier. They've got all the time in the world. Dad can just read his books and whatever. At the same time, so Thingy Beetlejuice is in the waiting room. He takes a ticket, and it's like his number is 999 million something something something. And the guy next to him, who's like a tribesman, is like number 4, and he says like, "There's Michael Jackson" or something like that, and then takes.
Is it Elvis again? He goes, "I'm like Elvis."
It's Elvis, yeah. He takes the 4. I just love the way he's just like, it's like, I'm next. It's like getting ready. It's good because I've got something on later anyway. And then obviously the guy shrinks his head. I mean, even at the end, he says, "Yeah, I think this could be a good look for me."
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, we get a lovely musical number, and a good time was had by all in Beetlejuice.
Yeah. So I've got a bit of name game. It's quite a difficult one to do, but I think we'll start with a couple of easy ones.
All right.
So this first one is about the spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that's moved into their home, and they hire a malicious, watery bird to drive them out, or something like a waterfowl, I think is the technical term.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Yeah. Next one. Spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that's moved into their home and hire a malicious chocolate dessert. Should I say a delicious chocolate dessert to drive them out?
Oh, is it Beetlemoose?
Beetlejuice. Well done. Going to get a bit harder now and a little bit more unsavory.
Oh God, without Ben here to help as well.
The spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that has moved into their home, and to get them out, they hire, it's like a metal runner that piles in tons of unborn babies.
Oh, geez.
It's like a piping, I guess, like a half pipe. They've sort of ran in through the window.
But it piles in. It piles in babies.
Unborn babies. Sorry.
Oh, fetal sluice.
Fetal sluice. Yeah. And the last one that I've got here: spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that's moved into their home, and they hire a British TV entertainer to drive them out. British entertainer hirer.
So a British entertainer
to drive. They hire a British TV entertainer to drive them out. British entertainer hirer.
Oh, very good. So Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice Forsyth. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Oh, I did all right with those.
Yeah, 4 out of 4. 10 points. Now we need to rate the film. I saw Ben had rated on Letterboxd. Maybe not this time. Maybe the last time I watched it. He gave it a 3.5 stars. We can't hold him to that because that could be a while ago. Maybe he's changed as a person. Maybe his tastes have changed, become more refined, become more of a Beetlejuice fan. I don't know. But let's just say his score is 3.5 out of 5 for now.
Yeah. What does that? What would that make it? High C, low B, classic B minus.
I'd be like B minus, C plus, C, B minus, B sharp.
So that'd be then. So what about you, Luke? What's your take?
I mean, it's got to be an A, hasn't it? I don't understand how it could be anything but an A. I just, maybe it's just nostalgia blinding me, rose tinted glasses. I just think it's like a perfect. When I think of this kind of film, this era Tim Burton, the kind of the gothic stuff, the stuff about all the undead people, and just how entertaining Michael Keaton is as Beetlejuice. I just think it's like a solid A. I can't think of anything that would change in it.
I can think of a way that you could maybe give it a little lower. Not that that's it. I think for me, I would give it an A, maybe an A minus is where I'll go, and I'll tell you why. I think you could, if you purely watched it as a modern film, and you look at it, there are some bits today when you watch it where some of the cuts are a bit jumpy, particularly when they go outside to what I now know is Saturn. But there are a couple of bits there where perhaps the cuts are a little bit jumpy. There are some bits where just technically, from a purely technical standpoint, maybe it suffers a little bit, and maybe I can overlook those because of the nostalgia factor. I think even with those, though, if you're thinking about it from those senses and you're marking it for its maybe a few technical shortfallings, it's still a BB plus.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you'd never seen it before as a kid, you had no sort of reverence for it. I could see you going as a B, like a solid B, like it's a good movie, but there's no sort of rose tinted glasses or whatever. But for me, who had my third birthday party as a Beetlejuice themed birthday party, it's just up there for me. I just love it.
You're on the horror path so early, Luke. 3 years old and a Beetlejuice birthday party.
Yeah. It's inevitable. I was going to start a horror podcast at some point.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember what I had for my third birthday. What was I into in... Geez, this is depressing. What was I into in 1986?
Captain Scarlet?
I don't think that had come back. I think we were between Captain Scarlet eras in 1986. I was big into Bertha when I was a kid. It was about a robot that manufactured things.
I don't know that one. Tonka
It's
truck.
it was like a factory, and you gave Bertha the schematics, and it would build whatever you needed, basically any old shit in this machine, and it manufactured things. Made a mousetrap once. Maybe I was big into that at the time. But nowadays, Beetlejuice is a great shout for your third birthday.
I actually thought, like, when I was looking into it, I was like, not third birthday, that's too young. But yeah, Dad's showed me some video clips. Third birthday.
Yeah, I've just realised that I think maybe this is why I'm here as well. I was big into as a kid. I was huge into Trapdoor. Trapdoor was my favourite. I used to love Trapdoor.
It's got an amazing theme song as well. What's beneath that trapdoor?
Trapdoor was great. I used to love Trapdoor. So yeah, that's why we're both here on the horror podcast.
Claymation horror is changed us in strange and unusual ways. Sorry, did you say your score? You said you're going to go for an A minus.
Yeah, I'm going to go A minus, I think. And with that, I feel I'm being fair and recognizing some of its modern shortfallings.
Yeah,
but
I'm
also
being unfair, but I don't
but also like I'm accepting that I have nostalgia for this. So for me, I'll give you a little nod and make it an A minus. People who expect me to mark it with modern eyes, it's still a great movie. Yeah. And I think Michael Keaton has so much charisma. Are they flirting with the idea of a second Beetlejuice, or is it a thing that's actually happening?
I don't know. It came up in my random search of Beetlejuice. I don't know if I'd be keen on it. Not modern Burton. Modern Burton. I don't know. He's. I mean, I didn't like the Willy Wonka film he did. Didn't particularly like the Alice in Wonderland films he did.
We're
I
getting
think
a new one, Chris,
after
aren't we,
Sweeney,
as well?
yeah, Timothy Chalamet. I think after Sweeney Todd, that was kind of like the cut-off point of premium Burton.
Yeah. You've earned your money, Tim. Come on. Just...
Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw Johnny Depp was maybe linked to it. I mean, you can't have Johnny Depp play Beetlejuice, can you? It's got to be a
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, I don't think it's necessary, but if Michael Keaton was back as Beetlejuice, I would go. He's Batman again now, so maybe he's just reliving them all.
Yeah. Have you seen Birdman, by the way?
I've not seen Birdman. It's on my never-ending list, but I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I think it's like one of my favorite films. More of the sort of like weird, slightly artier films, but it's really fun as well. Michael Keaton, he's just so good. Like he's just so good. Puts everything into it, almost as much as he puts into Beetlejuice.
I've always liked Michael Keaton. I like him as the chief in The Other Guys, with just quotes TLC songs all the time.
Wow, The Other Guys. That was the film. It was mine and Kat's first date. We went to watch The Other Guys.
There you go. You see.
Yeah.
So obviously a momentous film.
Yeah. Aim for the hedges, or the bushes, whatever to say. So thanks for listening. Sorry, Ben couldn't be here today. I'm sure he's okay. We'll find out next week what happened to him. If you enjoyed the episode, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. We've just done a bonus ode where we talked about VHS 94. So if you want to know our opinions on VHS 94, it's like a half an hour episode extra.
Cheeky little bonus, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to our patrons, John Crennan, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Toby Miller, Laura Kendrick, Scott Rigby, and Pazuzu.
And John Crennan, of course.
Yeah, against his will. Thanks to Kovacs Cameron for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to everyone in the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. It's always lovely to speak to you guys and hang out. And yeah, I think, what are we doing next week?
It's November next week. Now, what was first in November? I can tell you what we have on the docket, but I can't tell you what order it's in. So next month we have Last Night in Soho was going to be out, so we were meant to be looking at that. We have
Fortunes the Beyond, I think. Are we?
Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, we're gonna do the Beyond. We're gonna do the Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah,
the new Ghostbusters, and I think we're gonna do Crimson Peak, right? But I cannot tell you in which order those films are happening. So one of those 4 movies, or maybe a 5th one. Who knows?
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a right horror dude.
Thank you, Luke.
Yeah. Later.
See you all next time.
Such a bit. Bye.
Yeah.